Good afternoon and welcome to week 6 of the Great British Lockdown, which is a lot like the Great British Bake Off, only in this case no one wants the famous Paul Hollywood handshake. Apparently it takes 3 weeks to make or break a habit, which means I've officially and possibly doubly now broken the habit of doing my day job. And my new habit of eating my body weight in biscuits while drinking an ocean of tea each day is now pretty much entrenched. To show you just how mad the world is right now, I went for a run, a 2K run, I'll have you know, on Saturday this week. And I haven't run anywhere in more than 20 years, unless towards a buffet counts. I need to get back to work just before I hurt myself, really. We have got a guest lined up for you today. Haven't seen him in the green room yet, but let me just do the preamble and hope that he joins us. Now, it can be hard to remain upbeat in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting lockdown that came with it. I'm sure a lot of us know someone that's been impacted directly or otherwise by this terrible virus. And many of us are concerned about money, our jobs, our livelihood, and obviously friends and family as well. But in the midst of all this, I think there's been some shining examples of individuals and companies, and a combination thereof, of companies working for the greater good. My plan was to start today's show with talking to one such individual, but he's not appeared yet. So while I'm biding my time, just wanted to draw your attention to a couple of things that we've got coming up. I don't know about you, but I'm spending quite a bit of my lockdown time listening to podcasts, not just my own and not just entertainment ones, but also some industry-related ones. And there really are some great industry-related podcasts out there. So much so that I've actually published an article today that features links to a number of my personal favourites. If you're watching this live on Facebook, if you scroll down the page a little bit after I've finished speaking, you will actually see what looks like the cover for a Sex Pistols album, because the article in question is called "The New Punks of Podcasting." I'm quite proud of it. I'd love you to check it out. It does, as I say, it does contain links to some of the best podcasts in the industry out there, like Content with Media and Brockology and various others as well. So do check it out. If you're not watching this live, I will obviously upload this video afterwards to YouTube and then subsequently put it over onto LinkedIn and Demolition News and various other places as well, and you'll be able to find the links to that article in the show notes. Now, if you were watching our live stream earlier, you'll know we had a few technical difficulties, so I've had to do a bit of a filler on this one, I'm afraid. I was saying that it was very hard to remain upbeat at times like this, but there are some really good examples out there of people going above and beyond, even if they're furloughed at the moment. And one such person is a guy called James Morley, who works for JCB. Now, under normal circumstances, James works at the JCB headquarters in Staffordshire. I've been a regular visitor there for about 30 years. For the past few weeks, he's been locked away in his garage, using his skills to provide vital equipment and PPE for frontline NHS staff. So I've got a lot of questions for James, so I'm going to stop talking now. I'm going to go back to the live stream. So this is just a bit of a filler. Hopefully I can make all of these marry together and it will make sense afterwards. So how long have you been off work now?
About 5 weeks now, and I've got another 5 weeks to go.
Yeah, it's a long while, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you haven't been wasting your time, I'm glad to hear. So what actually inspired you to start making PPE and that kind of thing for NHS staff?
Well, since was put on furlough, I was actually working from home, was allowed to work from home for about a week. So I actually set myself up in the garage, so I was away from my family, so I could actually focus on a bit of work. And at the same time, in my garage, I've got a 3D printer. And through what I saw on social media regarding PPE for National Health Service, some of the online communities were getting these open source software models for PPE equipment and printing them out at home. So that started to emerge like towards the end of March. So I thought I'll have a go at this. So I downloaded a free model, which is actually this.
Wow. Okay.
So that's one of the headbands, and it's from a company called Prusa. It's a place in the Netherlands that make 3D printers, and they actually designed this themselves and used it for their local health service, and it got approved for them. And what it is, that once you print those out, they're actually made into a kit. And here's one of the visors. This is my own prototype, and this is the actual visor here, protective visor. I hadn't actually got any of this myself, this material, and this was actually cut out of an old cable tie tube. So I could, so what I printed out, I could actually prototype up myself to see what one of these would look like. So this bit on the back here is elastic, buttonhole elastic, and this bit's 3D printed, and that's 3D printed, and this has been hacked from a cable tie tube. And but normally you'd buy this in sheets, and it's about 240mm by 240. It has to be about 1/2 mil thick, so it can be rigid enough to be over somebody's face. And there's enough room behind it there, so there's like an air gap between this and the surgical masks they wear. So at the same time, whilst I've been making those parts, I've also been making these things here, which are, this one's actually a Superman one, and these fit on the back of your head. And what they are for, the people with the surgical masks, they hook them over the ears. But what happens over a long shift is that it rubs on their ears. So these, because they go on the back of your head, the elastic actually attaches to them and saves people's ears. So because it's the NHS superheroes, done superhero headbands.
Genius. So I mean, I know from my garage. I mean, my garage is basically full of ladders that I don't use and disused bits of paint that I never finished putting on the walls. You have a 3D printer in yours?
Yes. I can't actually turn my camera around at the minute to show you because it's on my laptop. But there's some pictures of me on LinkedIn, on my LinkedIn profile. That's where I first started putting the videos on what I was doing and attempting to do, and that got picked up by JCB. They actually, the marketing guys over there saw that, said, "Oh, we want to help you." And at the same time, what they saw, what I was doing, and other people around the company and external to JCB, was that we've actually got a large 3D printer within JCB Research where I work, and a couple of guys that are in charge of that. There's a couple of guys called Joe. One of them's called Joe Mumby, and he actually came in and started printing some off based upon what I'd seen I've been doing and other people. So then they started doing a higher volume of these visors for themselves, around 50 odd, and then distributed them to the local Staffordshire NHS.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Where are these visors and the PPE actually going?
The guys in research on the large 3D printer, they're sending theirs to the local Staffordshire hospital. The ones I've actually got, these pieces, because that is a prototype. These are the pieces that I've been making, and I've sort of found through social media, Facebook actually, a Facebook user group, is that you make these parts, this bit and the bottom part, you send them off to this company. One of them, typical one I've been sending them to, is a company called 3P Innovation. So they take all these parts, and the elastic and the visors, they put them all together, they actually sanitize them so it's free of COVID-19. They package them up and then send them directly to the NHS front line.
Wow, it's amazing. I understand that you've mentioned Joe Mumby there. This is not unique in JCB circles. There seems to be quite a lot coming out of JCB that you're doing. I know there was talk about being involved in ventilators early doors, but there's other stuff going on behind the scenes as well, I understand.
Yeah, there's the support we've been doing with the ventilator manufacturing. So that's the case. That was a joint thing with Dyson, and then there's this thing with myself and the other guys within research. And I think there are a couple of other things going off. I'm not entirely sure what they are myself because I've not been in the office, so I only hear a limited amount of information of what the things we're helping out with. But the other thing that you know about, I think, is that the catering part of JCB are producing food for local people, homeless people and things like that, and care homes to sort of help out with people that are vulnerable at the minute.
Yeah, I've got a bit to say about that once I let you get back to the day job. But just going back to your 3D printer, as I say, I don't know any other 3D printer in the garage. What do you normally use it for?
Well, I was always interested in 3D printers about 3 or 4 years ago, and they were sort of something that were emerging. It was emerging, that technology, over a number of years. And recently, through looking on the internet, I thought, oh, I'd like to have my own 3D printer, but I always knew they were quite expensive. So this kit I bought was an ANET A8 printer, and it was a kit, and I bought from China, which was about £110 to buy, big box of bits, and it took me about 10 hours to assemble. And then I printed my own 3D parts out of it, from open source freeware off the internet, and sort of built it up from there. So again, there's a picture of that on social media, and you may have seen other media bits as well. So it was all made by myself. I wanted to, because I'm an engineer. I thought, I want to make this myself, learn more about it, and put it all together. And then one of the first few things was for my kids, actually. So this is a upscaled Lego man, with all the sort of parts you typically get, and so
yeah, be honest, is that for the kids or is that for you? Really?
So there's things like that, and there's some useful things, there's some useless things, but it's just something I got involved with. And with me having this here, it's sort of as a hobby, but turned useful in terms of this situation. And if you look out there, there's a lot of people, a lot of hobbyists, all doing the same things, lots of colleagues, lots of people outside of JCB, a whole big community working on this, churning these things out. But the problem I found is that at the minute the printer's down, it does break. You have some faults and you have to fix them, so you're down by a few days. And 3D printers are rapid prototyping, so it's used to making a few things now and then, but when you start to do large volumes, things start to break down a bit, and the machines are not really designed to make big volumes. So I'm finding this myself. So when mine broke down, lots of other people was breaking down, and fortunately through the community that I'm involved with, most of the parts are from China, but through the local community in the UK, I was able to get a few electronic boards to sort of repair the faults I've had within like 2 days. So that sort of community is great, because you're able to sort of get the parts you need, and they're all low cost anyway. So this printer was only £100, and it's lasted me 3 years so far, and I've produced some good things with it. It's really good.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm absolutely blown away. I mean, bear in mind, I use this LiveStream technology straight out of the box, and I thought I was being awfully clever. I think you're you're way cleverer than I am. James, look, it's been lovely speaking to you. I'm going to let you get back to doing your part for the NHS frontline. But before I let you go, just wanted to say, on behalf of the industry, a personal thank you for all that you're doing, and all that your colleagues at JCB are doing. I think it's a fantastic effort. I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I want to just say thanks to the NHS, like everyone's saying. They're our heroes of today. They're working on the front line and they're saving people's lives. And that's why I work in my garage at 2:30 at night, just to try and make things to help them. It's just an honour to be able to sort of help them out. And thanks again to them.
Fair play to you. I would take my JCB hat off to you, but I can't because I've got headphones on. But I'm going to let you get back to the day job.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks, James.
Bye.
Bye. Right, my apologies for the issues with the technology there. I think we overcome them in the end. I realise that as a journalist, I'm expected to be objective and impartial, but these really aren't normal times. So I'm very pleased to feature the work that JCB are doing, and for this episode, I'm proud to wear one of their hats as well. In addition to all that James said, I just wanted to recap on the part about the JCB's catering staff and the effort they're putting in. At last count, the last I heard, they were producing something like 37,000 meals a week for distribution in the UK and in India to towns and villages and homeless and vulnerable people located close to their plants. The meals apparently arrive with a message that reads, "Lovingly prepared by JCB chefs for our local community." Now, back when we all lived in the normal world, I had the privilege of eating at the JCB World Headquarters once or twice a year for about the last 30 years. In fact, I probably dine at JCB more often than I do at many of my favourite restaurants. I can tell you that the food there is out of this world, and if you ever get the chance, I can personally recommend the creme brulee. It really is very, very special. I don't suppose they're distributing those to the local people, but yeah, if they do, they're in for a real treat. Obviously, if there are any other companies out there or manufacturers that would like to share a story of what they're doing or their workers are doing for the NHS, for their local workers, local community, please get in touch. We'd love to share a bit more positivity. Just a couple of other quick points before I get back to daytime TV. As I mentioned earlier, before this was all disjointed, I'm spending a lot of time listening to podcasts at the moment. I do have a new article out today called The New Punks of Podcast. There's some great links in there to some really good audio content. As I said earlier, from the likes of Brockology, from Peter Haddock, Content with Media, and a whole host of others. So try and check that out. Just going to press one more button before we call it a day. Construction Outlook. This is my final point before we call it a day today. On Thursday of this week, our guest at 3 o'clock UK time will be Builders Conference CEO Neil Edwards. He'll be looking at the new contract awards that have been recorded in March and April and possibly February if you'd like to go back that far, and looking ahead to the industry's prospects when this lockdown does finally come to an end. If you've got any questions for Neil, let's have them in advance, or alternatively join us live at 3 o'clock on facebook.com/demolition news. And you can ask Neil the questions yourself in the comments. In the meantime, I'm going to echo what James said earlier. Hats off to the NHS and the heroes therein, and to the other health services in countries around the world. Look after yourselves, look after each other, look after your friends and your family and your colleagues. I will be back here again at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Hope you can join us. As I say, we've got a good show coming up on Thursday. I hope to have another good show for you again tomorrow. And I hope I can beat the technology with a big hammer and make sure we're not quite so disjointed tomorrow. So thanks for joining us. Thanks to James and thanks to the team at JCB for making that happen. And thanks for the hat. And I'll see you all again tomorrow. All the very best.